Hey, welcome in. Abrupt intro ending. This is the John Cast Podcast. Thank you for joining this podcast, brought to you as always by my good friends at Ian's Pizza, with 3 locations in Madison, 3 locations in Milwaukee. They're in Seattle, they're in Denver, they're everywhere. Their specialty pizza, their unique slices of pizza. If you've never tried the mac and cheese pizza from Ian's Pizza, well, the next time you're in Wisconsin or Seattle or Denver, you have to go check out the mac and cheese. It's a classic, but that's just one of many slices and varieties of types of pizzas you can find at an Ian's Pizza. So check them out. Ian's Pizza with those 3 locations. Thank you to Ian's. Also check out johncastpodcast.com for all the latest episode information and any giveaways. That's the place you got to go. Sign up for the newsletter. Any giveaways, you'll hear it first there. We'll pump out the newsletter, and I'm not going to spam you or anything like that. So johncastpodcast.com is the place to go. Well, I'm very excited for today's podcast because today's guest is a former college football player, NFL, CFL player, as well as a longtime assistant coach in college as well. He and his wife, Robin, and their son, Joe, have recently become founding partners in the Pro Volleyball Federation. So I'd like to welcome Jimmy Burrow to the John Cast Podcast. Hi, Jimmy. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for joining me. It's nice to meet you. And I know you're at the AVCA convention in Omaha as we speak, checking out the national semifinals. How were the matches last night for you?
Well, they were great. It's exciting to actually watch in person at a big event like this, and some people are playing volleyball right behind us here, so you may hear the balls bouncing around. We might even get one over toward us, but exciting time, and glad to be here in Omaha.
Well, awesome. Well, that's fantastic, and you're part of the Pro Volleyball Federation booth there at the AVCA convention. So tell me, what made you and your wife and your son want to buy into the Pro Volleyball Federation?
Well, I had known Dave Wenham, the president, and pretty much the founder of the league for a long time. Back in our arena football days, I was associate head coach with Iowa Barnstormers, and he was with Tampa Bay, and we got to know each other. Our quarterback was Kurt Warner, so a lot of fun. And his office is in Columbus. He had approached me. I'm still in Athens, Ohio, and kind of initially started thinking about a new arena football league, and kind of evolved into, hey, would you still be interested in a pro volleyball league? And started thinking about it. And he had a vision, and he had passion for what's going on. And it gave us an opportunity as a family to do something that was fun and important. And that's promoting professional women's volleyball.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So this league starts in 2024. One franchise has been announced already in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So what do you think this league will be? Why will this be the league for fans, for players? Why will this be the one they're choosing 5 to 10 years down the road?
Well, we think the opportunity that it presents women's college volleyball players, once they're done at their respective schools, to have an opportunity not to have to go overseas to play. It gives them an opportunity to stay home, some of them possibly even close to where they went to college. So that's where we think it's going to take off, and a lot of local flavor, hopefully, on the different teams. And women's volleyball is one of the fastest growing watch sports on TV. So we hope to buy into that passion and that excitement about women's volleyball.
Yeah, you mentioned in one of your first responses too here that this was important. So why was it important to you and the Burrow family, specifically in this arena of volleyball?
Well, our family goes way back. My dad was a girls basketball coach down in Mississippi when I was growing up. I sat on the bench many games. My mom was one of the best high school basketball players ever in the state of Mississippi, scored 82 points once. So some of my first memories were about women's sports. So we've kind of been advocates for that over the years, and know that it's important to give women the opportunity that hopefully we're presenting in this Pro Volleyball Federation.
Yeah, I want to ask you more about the Pro Volleyball Federation, but you just blew my mind. 82 points in a game. That who was this? This was your grandma?
My mom.
Your mom scored 82 points in a game.
Actually, some of my first memories again of sports was reading newspaper articles, and I still have them. My dad played basketball. He was a starting point guard for Mississippi State University also, and my mom was a senior in high school, averaged over 50 points, and 82. So I've got it in print, so it's documented.
You know what's funny about that? I don't know if you ever thought about it this way. I'm sure no 3-point line, right? So, like, was she shooting from outside? Was she getting her points mid-range? How was she getting those points?
Well, she was taller, 5'10" or 5'11", and that was back in the old, if you're familiar with it, the 3-on-3 days. So
Sure.
3 were on one side of the court and 3 on the other side. So she was pretty much a scoring machine down low, but she could shoot too, and kind of a North Mississippi legendary basketball player back in the day.
Wow. It's all starting to make sense to me. Everything about why Joe is so successful with you, with your mom. It's all making sense to me now. And it makes more sense why I never was successful.
She would have been a great volleyball player too, if they had
really?
that back then, because again, 5'10" or 5'11" and athletic. And she would have enjoyed that.
Wow, I bet. So do you have a specific team that you follow in college? Did you and Robin follow a team in college?
Oh, yeah, we follow Nebraska because my wife, she's from Nebraska. I graduated from Nebraska, played football for Coach Osborne. And, it's Nebraska is kind of the first place that I really started watching women's college volleyball, because passionate about Nebraska, and they're one of the best every year, certainly with Coach Cook and what they're able to do there in Lincoln.
Yeah, and fan bases like Nebraska, like Wisconsin, like a lot of these fan bases, I think they can prove too that volleyball can garner that fan support. So to see that in Lincoln, I'm sure. When you talk about the Pro Volleyball Federation, that is something that is very doable. People want to do this. People want to follow these teams, and it's a great entertainment for the family. Yeah,
we've talked to different investors just recently here in Omaha and other areas around the country, and there's excitement when they hear what we have to offer and our plan and our business model. Everybody is excited. They think it has an opportunity to succeed where maybe some in the past haven't. So anybody that we talk to they're really excited for the most part.
That's fantastic. One of the things, one of the storylines around you, not only obviously buying into the Pro Volleyball Federation here in 2022, but another storyline around you and your family that I loved was in 2019. That's when you decided to retire from coaching to watch your son, Joe Burrow, in his final season at LSU. So I ask you, when was the first time you thought, you know what, I need to retire because I want to watch him? Was this something that years in advance you're like, okay, here's the plan, and you kind of set out, or what was the process of that? Like that? No,
I love coaching. I worked for Coach Frank Solich, a longtime Nebraska head coach and assistant, and joined his staff in Ohio. And really hadn't thought about it. And then when Joe transferred to LSU, his first year was 2018. And, I was still coaching. My wife was going to every game. I only got to go to 3 games. And one of them was the 7 overtime at A&M. So I'm sitting there thinking, this is pretty cool and pretty important that I'm watching my son, Joe. And so started thinking about it late during that season. Mentioned to Coach Solich that was a possibility, and I just couldn't. And I'd never even been to a game in Baton Rouge the whole 2018. So I'm thinking, man, I can't not experience what I'm hearing my wife talk about, SEC football and what's going on in Tiger Stadium. So decided to do it. I still miss coaching, but it was one of the better decisions I've ever made. Now I made every game in 2019 in that magical national championship run, and I haven't. The only time I've missed a Bengal game is the COVID years when they wouldn't let us in the stadium sometimes. So unbelievable last year, being able to go to the Super Bowl and not having to worry about the transfer portal and recruiting and watching film on our next opponent. So it's been a good thing.
Yeah, the transfer portal, man, that thing has blown up over the last couple of years, which is not saying it's out of control, but it's definitely new and different and interesting. So 2019, you get to watch all of Joe's games. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
15 of them.
And you, by the way, I think, the national championship with the cigar is one of the most iconic college football. I mean, that to me will go down in history as just kind of like one of those things I think that stay in people's minds about great players in college and great moments in college history. I don't know. I love that fact about Joe. So it's cool that you get to go to all the NFL games as well. What is it like now? Because one thing, so I call volleyball games on the radio, and one thing I've noticed is when I get to actually sit down and watch a game, it's fun because it's different. I'm not looking at it from this different perspective. So what was it like for you to finally, after so many years, sit down, have something to eat, drink a soda, and watch a football game?
Well, there for a while, I still probably looked at it maybe from a defensive perspective. I was in the press box for over 30 years, but gravitated toward watching Joe more and the offensive side and quarterback. And then one of the biggest things that I had to learn how to manage was the tailgates down in Baton Rouge. That's a challenge, and I'd really never experienced them. My wife was certainly very good at tailgating from going to my games, and so that was something I had to get used to. But it was great. Started there, and now we continue at the stadium there in Cincinnati, and every away game. So it's good, but it took a while to get used to really sitting in the stands and not having really any control over what somebody is doing on defense and what somebody's doing on offense. It was a little weird, but I've kind of pushed through that now. It's just a joy to watch Joe and the Bengals.
Yeah, I bet that would have been strange for you. Like, oh no, don't do that. Okay, well, okay, yeah. And you just sit back and you have no control, and you get to watch. So I'm interested to hear from your perspective. When did you know Joe would be a good quarterback, and when did you know Joe would be a great quarterback? Were those two separate moments, or did you always kind of have this feeling, or how did that view change?
Well, back to originally Joe sports. I mean, he was multiple sports. We thought he was going to be a basketball player, just with his body build. He was all state in basketball. But even in the third and fourth grade, his coaches were putting him in shotgun. He had he had a set of twins that were eventually became our tight ends at Ohio University, and had a running back that ended up playing corner for Northwestern. So all of a sudden, once he got to high school, he's throwing the ball all over the place. Still thought maybe 8th and 9th grade that basketball was his sport, and then the 10th grade year was his first year to start as a high school quarterback, and just threw for tons of yards and tons of touchdowns. And I think we lost one game and then maybe lost in the playoffs. So I'm thinking he's pretty good, and he started to get a little more weight. He was starting to get taller and physically look more like a football player than he still looked like a basketball player, but physically you could see that he was going to be big enough to be a quarterback. So I'm thinking this is his ticket. So about that 9th, 10th grade year, he quit playing travel basketball and kind of, hey, I'm going to be a football player.
Wow, that's cool.
But 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, I mean, literally, he was in shotgun and would go to the line of scrimmage with 2 plays. He could either, if the linebackers were in the box, he could throw to a bubble screen just like they do now, and if they were out of the box, he could quarterback sneak. And even back then, I'm going, this is pretty cool that he and his buddies are being able to do this and being allowed to do it and encouraged.
Yeah, that's crazy. Been throwing the bubble screen since 4th grade.
Yeah,
that's great.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, so, in your opinion, what are the 1 or 2 things that makes him such a great quarterback now in the NFL?
Well, I think his accuracy, throwing the football. I'd put him up against anybody in the NFL at this point. So that's when guys are covered in the NFL, the window to get it in is very slight. So you still you still have to get it in there, and he's very, very good at that. He's tough. So as a quarterback, if you show toughness, that gives you an opportunity to be a good leader, and then certainly leadership. Making other people around him better, and encouraging other people to work as a team, and all those things add up to what he's doing now. He's a good athlete too. Sometimes I think he might not get enough credit for being able to run the ball. I mean, they could call running plays for Joe, but they decide they don't do that. I'm proud of that too, because I don't want him running powers and things like that, like say Josh Allen at Buffalo. But he's capable of running the football, so he's a better athlete than sometimes people give him credit for.
That's fantastic. I mentioned the 2019 season, and obviously we start this podcast with you and your family into the Pro Volleyball Federation as one of the co-founders now, founding partners rather. But in 2019, Joe, I believe it was at the Heisman Trophy ceremony, talked about coming from Southeast Ohio and how he was there for all the kids in Athens who go home to not a lot of food on the table, hungry after school. You guys can be up here too. And the Joe Burrow Foundation now is up and running to help in part overcome food insecurity and childhood mental health issues. So yes. I know you're part of that as well. I mean, this post-career, post-college assistant football coach, man, you've just jumped in. You're going to games. You're part of the Pro Volleyball Federation, and you're part of the Joe Burrow Foundation as well. Can you tell me your work with the Joe Burrow Foundation?
Well, let me back up a little to that Heisman speech, and somebody started a GoFundMe the next day for the Athens Food Pantry. People started letting us know, hey, there's a lot of money being thrown into or donated, and eventually, there was $200,000, and the Foundation of Appalachia then partnered with the food pantry to form what's now the Joe Burrow Hunger Relief Fund. There's $1.8 million in that fund, all specifically since that Heisman speech. And so that kind of is we don't have that much control over that money, but we support it. But we wanted a foundation, or Joe wanted a foundation that would allow us to give back to Baton Rouge and places in Louisiana, as well as still Southeast Ohio and Cincinnati. So we launched that a few months ago, and have had unbelievable response. JoeBurrow.org is an opportunity to visit that website, and we're going to continue to support the Joe Burrow Hunger Relief Fund and the Joe Burrow Foundation, and certainly now the Pro Volleyball Federation.
Yeah. By the way, $1.8 million after a comment in a Heisman Trophy speech. Are you amazed at how powerful your voice's son can, or your son's voice rather, what he says, how powerful that message can be?
Yeah, I mean, there's a great lesson, and it was 31 seconds he devoted to that. And it, as I said, a lesson for all of us. If you're willing to speak out and you have the platform to speak out to potentially help others who may not be as fortunate as you or your family, then there's opportunities to do that. And I had no idea Joe was going to address what he did in that speech, but it came from the heart, and that's probably the best way to do things like that. And just an unbelievable response, and really that has progressed into us having that Joe Burrow Foundation.
Fantastic. And final question for you. So what are the conversations like with you and Joe about the Pro Volleyball Federation? Like, how excited is he to also be one of these founding partners?
Well, he's excited because he knows that it's giving other people, women, opportunities to pursue a professional career. We talk about it from a family standpoint. We don't have many opportunities to partner together in business deals and ventures like this. So it's certainly a family affair, and we're excited to work together with Joe, or I'm excited to work with Joe and his mom, Robin. And then just knowing that just like anything that you feel passionate about, we feel like we can make make a dent here and helping this get off the ground, and we can make a difference. So that's where we are right now. And I'm in Omaha, and the Final Four is awesome. And I love Omaha, by the way. My wife's from Nebraska. My two older boys played football in Nebraska. I did, and Joe learned to ride a bicycle down the street here in Lincoln at Memorial Stadium when I was coaching with Coach Solich. So we love Nebraska, but we're here for the Pro Volleyball Federation right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love Omaha, by the way. Omaha is a great spot. I've been there a few times, and I always enjoy myself. There's a lot of things to do, and obviously with the national semifinals and now the national championship coming up this weekend, there's ton. Enjoy that. That's going to be fun to watch the fans there and watch those two teams, Texas and Louisville, battle for national championship. And thank you for taking the time, Jimmy, to talk to me about your involvement with the Pro Volleyball Federation. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, and follow the Pro Volleyball Federation. Follow Joe and the Bengals. Let's
Excellent.
go.
All right. Excellent. Well, enjoy the rest of the season. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. There you go. Yeah. Thank you. That is Jimmy Burrow. Robin, and Joe Burrow, all founding partners out now of the Pro Volleyball Federation. That news just released recently. That's fantastic. I'd like to thank Jimmy and the Pro Volleyball Federation for help setting up that interview. All right. Well, thanks to you for listening to this podcast. Thanks to Ian's Pizza for being a sponsor of this podcast with the three locations in Madison and the 3 locations in Milwaukee. They're in Seattle. They're in Denver. Check out Ian's Pizza and be on the lookout because we'll have another promotion with Ian's Pizza coming soon. So once again, thanks to the Pro Volleyball Federation. Thanks to Jimmy Burrow. And thank you for listening to this edition of the John Cast Podcast. Goodbye.